Greetings, my magnificent ones. Sue Paulson, your magnificence mentor here. We're here with Heaven on Earth. Welcome. Today we're going into the third of a three-part series on signs and symptoms of inner peace. This was a handout that I found in my archives that I used to distribute a long time ago to my students. Well, I liked it because I don't know about you, but inner peace is a big deal to me these days. And I want to experience more and more of it so that my days go smoothly. And well, let's face it, inner peace to me is a lovely little chunk of heaven on earth. So let's look at the last three signs of inner peace. The first one is an increased susceptibility to the love extended by others. Let me just repeat that, an increased susceptibility to the love extended by others. Well, of course, when we're born, we're very open and susceptible to any of the love that anybody wants to give us. We're open to hugs, we're open to kisses, we're open to cuddles, because that's we come in just craving that, I think. And so, and because we don't know any better, except we know what feels really good to us, then we're very susceptible when someone wants to show us love. As we grow and have experiences, though, there are times when a little doubt, perhaps a little fear, sometimes suspicion creeps in, and we're not as susceptible for whatever reason. I remember being quite prickly as a youngster. And so if somebody and we didn't hug in our family. So my family was prone to kissing one another on the lips, which I thought was kind of gross. so I didn't really want that. And it was difficult for me to accept whatever love was there. So when I went to school, of course, I was like anybody else. I wanted friends, and I was open to enjoying whoever I met, but to receive what they had to offer me, I found was difficult. When I analyzed that from that period of time in my life and throughout the rest of my life, a lot of it revolved around my sense of self-worth. Well, did I, especially if I hadn't done anything to measure up to the love that they were giving me, especially if I felt I didn't deserve it. Well, I didn't do anything to get their appreciation or acknowledgement or whatever, because I was trained from very young, as you might have been, to do things that's the way you get praise and affirmation and accolades and hugs and all of the rest of it, was by doing something, by doing good works, doing something nice for somebody else. But what happens if you didn't do anything nice for them and they like you anyway? They gave you a smile, they wanted to give you a hug, they just wanted to be next to you or close to you. Oh, that was, I wasn't sure about that. So for lots of years, I kind of pushed that away, or I was a little bit tentative in what I would take on. And of course, I learned because because of the conditional nature of it, I guess is what I want to say, because it seemed as if, well, I can only get if I give, and if somebody's giving to me, then what do I need to give back? And so it became an exchange of for mutual benefit rather than just an expression of love. So the unconditional part of it was not there for the most part. At least I didn't feel it was. I came to learn later, that much later, that my parents loved me, unconditionally. Now, that doesn't mean they didn't want me to do certain things a certain way, because they did, or they wanted me to do some things, but they didn't want me to do other things. Well, that's just the nature of what parents do. And I'm not sure I appreciated that as a kid. It just seemed like a big infringement on my freedom. And so as a result, because I wasn't that happy with my parents and their behavior towards me from time to time, that I really resisted that love. I was not susceptible to it, and I wasn't open to it. So susceptibility to me means that we're more open to receiving. Nowadays, I'm much more open to that. I love having people reach out and give, because it just warms my heart and contributes to the quality of my life. So when my granddaughters come racing towards me and just throw their arms around me and Nana Sue, Nana Sue, well, my heart just swells bigger than I could ever imagine. Well, I'm open to that. And of course, with the exuberance of kids, they're so willing to give that it's an easy receive for me. So I'm learning more and more how to be that way with adults than and not just children. So that's the first one, is this increased susceptibility to the love extended by others. Love is all around us. It's wherever we look. If we're open to it, if we allow ourselves to be vulnerable to it, and that can be tricky, particularly if in your life you haven't had anyone extend love to you in a meaningful way, or a way that filled your soul. If maybe you've had some abuse in your life, and bad things happen that created this distancing from love that was there, well, that rattles our peace. That sabotages our ability to feel more relaxed, more comfortable, and to feel at ease in our own skin, never mind in our own world. So it becomes a battle to a certain extent inside ourselves to say, whoa, that's not getting me what I want. That's getting me closer to hell on earth than heaven on earth. So what am I going to do about that? Because ultimately, all we can control is how we think about it and how we feel about it. And sometimes we just flat out need to change our minds about that and say, well, that was then, this is now. How am I going to carry on now? Number 2, an uncontrollable urge to give love with no strings attached. So these two kind of go together. So we did it as kids. We gave love before we were conditioned by society or really connected with the environment that we were in. We would give love, and it was unconditional. We didn't expect anything in return. We'd smile at a stranger because that was the way we showed love. Even if we couldn't talk, we weren't old enough to talk then, we'd smile at a stranger and show our love that way. But similar things happened in our ability to give love unconditionally. At some point, the conditions came in. Well, I'll only love you if you share your cookie with me. I'll only love you if you help me with the dishes. I'll only love you if you pay your share of the rent, and all of those kinds of things. So it becomes transactional more than it becomes, look, I love you regardless. Does that mean that some things that you do tick me off? Probably because we're different personalities, we behave differently, we've learned to do things differently. And sometimes you don't do things the way I want. Does that mean that I can't love you because you don't do things the way I want you to? No, it doesn't. It does mean that in lots of relationships that I've looked at, and I've and I've had my share of that where oh no, I'm not going to give you love because you're only looking for this. And so there was a suspicion and and predominantly a fear that, well, what if I give my love unconditionally and you don't love me back? Then what's that all about? So it takes a great deal of introspection to resolve that, and a certain amount of courage to just give love without thought of getting anything in return, that you just give it away and see what happens. Because so for example, we will give unconditional love to a puppy. What's more fun than a puppy flopping around and licking your hand and jumping into your arms, and they're giving their love just unconditionally. And of course, if you're open to receiving it, then you just take it all in and just embrace it. Same thing holds true. You pet them and you stroke them and you pick them up and you hug them and just giggle and laugh, and you don't expect anything from the puppy. And of course, sometimes you get the unexpected, like they pee all over you because they're so excited. Oh, I didn't expect that. but uh, but you didn't say, well, when you learn not to pee all over me, I'll give you love. You gave them love anyway, and then eventually they learned not to do that. So it's a whole different game going on here. And of course, our inner peace just builds exponentially when we can just give love. So how do we give love unconditionally? Well, it's as simple as smiling at a stranger, smiling at a loved one, giving them an unexpected hug, just commenting on the wonder that they are as a person, the beauty that you see in them. You don't expect anything back. It's just an acknowledgement of who they are and how much you enjoy having them in your life. So I wonder sometimes if we were to spread that love, particularly to people that aren't necessarily on their best behavior, and we love them anyway, and say, well, they're doing the best they can. I'm going to love them anyway. So there were times when my teenager was not in my good books because of his behavior. Did that change my love for him? Not at all. Oh, it irked me and it irritated me, and I requested better behavior, and I confess, and sometimes I demanded better behavior because I didn't like what I was seeing. But it didn't change my base, all abiding unconditional love for him. And I think most parents feel the same way, regardless of how our kids turn out. There is that underlying love that's just part of us, that we may not know how to show it, we may not know how to give it, but it is there. So I think it takes some conscious effort to really look at how am I, do I have conditions attached to the feeling that I'm giving to this person, or do I just want to tell them how I'm feeling and spread that love no matter what happens next? So that might be your mission for this next week, is to look at how you can be more open and vulnerable to receiving more love in your life, and also how can you give more unconditionally. You don't care what they do with the love. You just want to give it. So I guess an example I could use is giving to panhandlers on the street, for example. Now, there's a big controversy, the pros and the cons and all of that. I wrestled with that concept for a long time and for a number of years, because I'd see someone struggling, and if I had a few extra dollars in my purse and I felt compelled to give to them, then I would give it to them. And I had someone say to me when I gave $5 to a fellow who was down on his luck, someone else said, well, you know, they're just going to use it for drugs. And I said, I have no control over that. There's nothing I can do about that. I'm giving unconditionally to them. This is for them. This is their money. And it's one way, really, because this is a total stranger, this is the only way that I know to show my love to this person, by giving them a handout, by giving them some money to buy a coffee or do whatever they want with. And once it's out of my hands, then it's up to them what they do with it. And maybe, just maybe, there's always the hope in the back of my head, maybe because I have given to them without thought, number one, of anything in return. I know that $5 is gone. It's gone to them. And I doubt whether it's ever going to come back. So, and I don't care, because it was in my heart to give, and I wanted to, so I did. So that's so this is how I handle it now, is that if I feel compelled when I'm in the presence of someone who is asking for a contribution, then if I feel moved to, then I give it. And because then there are no strings attached, because it's coming wholeheartedly, it's coming from my heart. So that's just a little example of that. Now, number 3, let's get into number 3. Number 3 is frequent, overwhelming episodes of appreciation. I confess that I have a certain amount of remorse for not having appreciated all that I received in life, especially early on in my younger years. I think I was so focused on making progress, moving forward, and noticing what I didn't have in contrast to what I wanted. Well, that was good. I liked that, but that's not quite enough. And so there was this constant quest for more, more, more. And as a result, I neglected appreciating, first of all, what I already had, because I was never without a roof over my head. I was never without food. I was surrounded by loving relations and friends. So no matter what was going on in my life, and there were some tragedies and traumas along the way, I still had this big well of good things that I could notice and I could acknowledge, and in lots of cases I could flat out count on, that there was never any question that was going to be there for me always. Well, I don't think I appreciated it as much as I could have. And nowadays, there are many moments when I'm just in tears about how good my life is and how much I appreciate the people in it, the circumstances of my life, the nature that I'm surrounded with, and the beauty of that nature, the talents that others contribute in order for me to have an even better life. All of these things there's just so many. I could go on for days and days talking about what I appreciate. So that gives me a huge sense of inner peace every time. And especially, here's the interesting trick, is that when we're feeling, as I call it, lower than a snake's belly, things are not going well, and you don't know if there's anything other than bleakness around you. The second you switch your thinking into appreciating what you have, you're showing some gratitude. You find it in your heart to be grateful for what you do have, even if things aren't going well in that moment. What's come to you, what things you've had from the past that you can be extremely grateful for. All of that. The second that you do that, you start to rise up. All of a sudden, that pit in your stomach where things don't feel good starts to ease and starts to shift. So appreciation or gratitude is a big, big factor in us not only finding inner peace, but in us really experiencing heaven on earth here. It's a big deal. So that's the third one that it's important that we focus on. So I'm, as much as I rail at technology, and nothing seems worse when the internet goes down these days, I so appreciate the talents of people who have made it possible for me to connect with you wherever you are in the world. Here I am in Edmonton, in Alberta, Canada. You could be anywhere in the world tuning in to this YouTube channel and watching this video on inner peace. Well, that's amazing to me. That's miraculous to me. And I couldn't have done that myself. I don't have those kinds of skills and talents. So I have just vast appreciation for anybody who knows which keys to play with, which buttons to push, which ways to make this all happen and make it all work. So we have lots of marvels in our world. And of course, the most marvelous of all, the most magnificent of all, is each of us. So when you allow love to come from your magnificence, and I allow the love from my magnificence to come out as well, then this light just gives the world such a sense of inner peace. It gives the world something to hang on to when times are tough, when things are bleak. I'm not sure that we want to invest our time in trying to fix what's broken. And I certainly notice there's a lot out there on planet Earth that seems to be broken. Systems, organizations, the way things are done. And we're in a mess and in a muddle. But what if instead of investing lots of time scurrying around being mad about all of that and trying to fix all of that, that we look for a new way, that we look for a different way to engage with each other and to bring about whatever it is that's the most important to us, to say, no, I'm not going down that path. That path is so well trodden that it, a rut is simply a grave with the ends kicked out. So I'm not going down that rut. I don't want to bury myself in all that nonsense that's going on. I'm looking for different paths. I'm and the search for inner peace and all of the signs and symptoms of inner peace are right there for us. We may need to do a little work in order to bring them into being. We may need to establish a practice. So I have a practice of appreciation where every day, not a day goes by that I don't appreciate something. And it's usually a multitude of somethings. It's not just one thing that I appreciate. So it's to not only feel that appreciation and be appreciative, but it's to express it as well, to out loud to other people, whether it's an appreciation of them or something they've done, or whether it's just an appreciation of things that you've noticed. It all counts. It changes our conversation with one another and shifts the mood to a much higher level, to a level of, well, we could call it enlightenment. You know you're magnificent enough to do this. So I encourage you over this next week to look at your level of appreciation and decide how much you want to up that wattage, how bright you want to allow your appreciation to shine, to be able to unconditionally not only give love, but receive that love from other people as well. No strings attached. How can you do that? So this concludes our 3-part series. If you're enjoying the Heaven on Earth series altogether, I think this is episode number 12, then stay tuned every week. You can subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to get an alert that the next video has been posted. I encourage you to download my free app from Google Play or the Apple Store called The Magnificence Mentor. It's an app designed to inspire you toward your own magnificence, with lots of videos, some articles, some podcasts on there, so you can take it with you wherever you go. In the meantime, take the best care of you, and remember, you are magnificent.